And after a long, hard week of Counter-Strike, after a lot of preparations and some upsets to be had, we have finally come to this point. We're on Sunday, and you know what that means. It's the Elisa Invitational Qualifier Finals to see who can actually make it through to the Blast Showdown, to join with the likes of Evil Geniuses, Team Liquid, Complexity, and FaZe Clan. Some big names, but possibly about to be joined by some even bigger names. Now, there are some other names in this broadcast as well. They're slightly smaller, and they're myself, that's Mahmoud. I'm Sabri, and I'm joined by my co-caster, Michael Yumi Cassidy. Michael, I hope you're not too offended by me saying you're a smaller name than FaZe.
No, I think that's about right. I don't think I could really go blow for blow, especially on like Twitter followers and clout.
Yeah.
Like I feel like Nico and FaZe just in general, obviously not Nico anymore, but FaZe in general probably have a bit more pull.
Of course, but listen, FaZe isn't here in this tournament, but a lot of other teams are. So why don't we take a look at the schedule, and we can really guide you through how the games have materialized all throughout this week, how we've really gotten here so far. The first match we'll be having today is from the Group A second seed and Group B's first seed. So Michael, why don't you tell us a bit about how Heroic really got here to face off versus GODSENT?
Yeah, well, it came off as a surprise. They won DreamHack Open full, and then the next day afterwards, they play Apex. It's an overtime game. It's a 19-16 win for Apex, but they ultimately fall a bit short because Heroic have made it through not quite a lower bracket system, but they've come through after losing that first game, and so they've had to play more games as a result. Whereas on the other side of things, you have GODSENT, who did pretty well. I mean, they secured their spot pretty much instantly. So they won their first two opening best of ones, and then that was it. They're through to the final.
Well, listen, that also means that GODSENT had a little bit more time to prepare for themselves as well. They had Wednesday and Thursday off, and you can see Friday, Saturday were off for pretty much everyone. Now, today we've got ourselves two games. Of course, this will be the first one, Heroic facing off versus GODSENT. The latter game of the day will be Havu versus Mad Lions. Havu, the final finish in representation at the Elisa Invitational. Now that ENCE was unfortunately forced to withdraw, and Havu, of course, made it through by beating the replacement of ENCE. So somewhat fitting way to actually get a Finnish team over there as well. But let's go back to this series that we're on about, though. Heroic and GODSENT should be an interesting one, and let's jump into the video, because I think there's a lot of crossover within the maps that these teams actually play. So for me personally, Michael, I have down for myself that GODSENT bans out Mirage, Heroic bans out Dust 2. Pretty standard stuff. Do you have anything where maybe you disagree with me? I know you've got your own notes on the veto as well.
No, I think that's probably about right. Dust 2 is a hard veto for Heroic. It's not a map that GODSENT play too often either. And you're absolutely right that Mirage and Dust 2, there is a fair amount of crossover in the map pool for the two sides. So they're banning for each other, but at the same time, you won't see too many surprises in that first wave. I think the second wave is really where things get a little bit more interesting, because both of these teams have comfortable wins, but they also have pretty significant losses across the remaining map pool.
Yes,
so where this ends up after the first round is the most interesting part.
Well, look, personally, I don't think Nuke really makes it through in the first round. I think Heroic's way too good on it. GODSENT doesn't really pick it. And I also think GODSENT's good enough that Heroic doesn't feel confident picking it. But they actually do go for that. And our production is right on point to say, Tea Time, you're useless. You don't know what you're talking about.
You're wrong.
Go for it. But you're wrong, exactly. Now, I personally thought Nuke would be the decider. So for me, the veto looked something on the lines of that GODSENT would pick Overpass. Heroic would put Vertigo, which is a map that GODSENT themselves aren't so comfortable on. Instead, we do have the Overpass pick coming in from GODSENT, but Vertigo not quite there. Michael, what are you thinking about this so far before you really proceed through to the second half?
Yeah, this is something that Heroic have liked to do against teams that are good good on nukes, that they're confident enough to pick into it. I know that I have my own grievances about the GODSENT nuke, so I don't think this is going to be the strongest performance from them on the first map. But at the same time, you have to veto confidently, and I like that Heroic have gone with that first, because sometimes teams, if they get the second round at it, they'll be like, oh, the strongest map in the pool is still left floating. We should probably get rid of that one. So picking confidently into that forces their hand now as well, because then the option of Vertigo opens up. We know we have our issues with that. GODSENT have looked to be developing on that map because they understand that they have a hard veto themselves, so they need to be good across 6 maps. If it goes into a decider like that, though, that could be very dangerous.
Well, I've got my predictions wrong already, so I think we should sweep through the rest of the veto as well. As we have Inferno being banned, GODSENT bans out, Vertigo and Train is a decider. Personally, I really dislike this veto from Heroic, and for me personally, I'll tell you why that is. Nuke's a map that's amazing for Heroic, but I'm 99% sure GODSENT doesn't ban that in their second phase. However, Vertigo, also a map where Heroic are actually really good on, and I think GODSENT's Vertigo is their weakest map in the pool outside of Mirage, which is kind of their permaban anyway. So if you're picking Vertigo in, for me, that's an automatic win. Then you go into Overpass, it's slightly more contestable. I think Crystal has some great calls in Overpass, but they're still likely to potentially fall down. So you're setting yourself up much better for a potential 2-0 in there. Now, with that being said, this is still all right, but I wouldn't really want to face against an opponent who's actually quite happy playing Nuke if I'm Heroic over here.
Yeah, all three maps are comfortable for Heroic.
Yes.
You have to also understand, like, when we look at the map win percentages for Heroic, they are typically up against higher tiered opposition, more often than not. So GODSENT has been sort of bordering tier 1, bordering tier 2, but that little bit in the middle, you add this disparity where, sure, you might be better than a lot of the tier 2 teams, but doing the same thing that you do at that tier against tier 1 is a little bit more difficult, because even if you are even like a 40% win rate team on some maps, if you're at the tier 1, you can still be worlds better than some of the up-and-comers.
Well, Michael, I know we say that, but at the same time, I also don't want to take away from GODSENT, because this is a narrative we've been painting since DreamHack Open, which is that Crystal is basically the 30-second master. So the setups that they're going to have going into this, when I'm pretty sure they were 99% certain they'd be facing off against Heroic, let's be honest, even if Heroic didn't make it through immediately. GODSENT probably thought that anyhow. So there's a lot of room to anti-strat Heroic as well. So the kind of preparation going into this means that GODSENT should have a decent enough idea. Now, Nuke is potentially slightly exploitable. The only problem is, of course, Heroic is 17-3 on that map. So, I mean, if anyone was going to exploit Heroic on Nuke, I'm pretty sure they would have done it already, in all fairness. But, you never know. Crystal's got some things up his sleeve, could really come through. I think Train's where it'll get really interesting if it actually gets there. What do you think about Overpass? And why don't we move into predictions while we're at it as well? How do you think that's going?
So if we're going to go with predictions, I'm looking at a 2-0 for Heroic. I think the veto definitely favors them overall, and unless GODSENT come in all guns swinging, because we know the ceiling for the team is so high that they could just take series altogether. But hitting that ceiling is the other issue. I think for Overpass, that is a contestable map, but Heroic are still very good at Overpass. So yeah, I'm thinking it's going to end up in a 2-0, but I think Nuke will be very close.
Right, so for me, it actually hinges incredibly around Nuke. I don't think it's... okay, this is where I'll hedge my bets a bit. I think it's a 2-0 if Heroic wins Nuke handily, but otherwise I think it's a 2-1 going for Heroic. Train, I still don't really give too much of a shot to GODSENT. I'm not 100% confident in how they play Train. They actually have a few places where I think Farlig falls short as an opper, and very often the opping is taken up, sometimes even by Madden and Crystal on primary and secondary, though in all fairness, this is quite variable and shifts from place to place and map to map for this team. Now, personally, I think GODSENT definitely have a reasonable chance, and I'd say I wouldn't be surprised if they 2-0 the series, because Nuke is a place where if Madden's coming in and he's going insane, this is a completely different ballgame. Stiko is good old reliable, but I think Stiko is very easily countered out. Stiko's positioning on Nuke gets a little bit stale at times, so maybe they brought in something to change that as well, because they have struggled at getting Stiko into these high fragging positions that he has traditionally occupied on the map. So for me, it's largely going to be around Farlig and Madden on Nuke. If these two players come alive, I think Heroic could actually feasibly be losing 2-0 to GODSENT. Overpass is a map where Crystal is fantastic at using the connector in particular to go for nice pincer plays across the map. I think Crystal has some great strats where they're able to use, on the CT side, a pincer play setting up 3 players going aggressively into connector, 2 players from B are ready to retreat backwards, and the A side becomes impossible to breach as a result of that. So there's some interesting setups that come through from GODSENT, which make it so I think Heroic definitely could end up slipping and breaking their neck.
Yeah, I think a lot of it will hinge as well about whether, I mean, you talk about Stiko being a player, or at least like a pivotal piece of the GODSENT win condition. you also have to talk about Zen, who has also been sort of tapering off. So I don't know how much of that as well is them implementing Farlig better and having to create more room for him to operate, because he has been on the rise while they've been on a decline. Because so maybe there's a correlation we can draw there, or whether it is just a lack of form. Because I mean, Stico's even said it himself. I think on his Twitter he was saying like, I'm not really performing to how I think I should be, and if he. I mean, the best team in the world. That's who you're facing up in the server to qualify for the showdown. You need him to step up, and you need him to be that high performer that he knows he can be.
Well, we're into the server against the best team of the world. We'll have to see how GODSENT fares. They, of course, do get the advantage of starting over on the CT side, but, I mean, at this point, Heroic is no stranger to starting on T, considering how often they pick this map.
Good bit of outside control to start. The flash as well. Farlig, 1 for 1. They're actually doing a bit of team damage, and, well, that's going to make it easier for Zen. He's actually gunning them down from heaven. These long-range angles, he'll wait for his teammates to come through, and they still haven't collapsed on this side. The bombs dropped out in the open as well, but still even in the trades. Ooh, down, now just out to Madden, and he's descending. Oh, this is very awkward.
He switched out his USB, but he can't get it done. And GODSENT, while they're in the 3v2 advantage, they're getting too overzealous to actually get and down onto the side itself. Instead of trying to contest from a slightly more favorable position, when they drop down, it's easy picking for Nico. There's no easy way to double peek him because the player up in heaven is low HP himself. Martin's not feeling all too secure. An advantageous position given up by them in that situation. Now, though, Heroic, much faster paced play, directly to drop a player down into vents. It's Nico to make his way down. And the CATs, they've gone for the force buy, but I think they may be losing quite a bit of control because of this if they want to rotate players back to Nico.
Ooh, good reaction here from GODSENT, though. Pushing in towards lobby, they find a pick on Stown. And sure, Nico has this lower activation. They should understand that that's a possibility. They would have heard the sound cue, unless players are talking over what they should be able to hear. You can see Heroic have kind of changed their plan up. They were setting up for outside smokes, but now they've re-aggressed lobby to make sure that that's not an angle they have to worry about into the late round. And I think a lot of it will hinge on Nico here. Whether he dives up the vent to help clear out door or tries to distract them in any way.
Zen also has a 5-7 when he's playing from the angle that he is, and that makes it really tricky to walk out of the door, but Caden's able to do it. He takes him down. Martin peeks out, but Tessis is ready. With this, it should be an easy enough round. Borup as well with the Mac-10. Misses a few shots, and that gives Farlig an opportunity to get away with a kill. Caden's down already, and both Farlig and Stico can back off and save these weapons. Now, Zen, of course, was the pivotal point of that overall CT setup. He needed to find that first kill, and as Stico tries to aggress on his own, he will not be able to get much. Farlig backs off, and he'll save the scout for another round. Now, again, just the initial contact made by Caden over there, I think that's really what wins him the round. Tessis then comes through and finishes it. Martin, really nicely done at the end of the day by Heroic to recover.
Yeah, I actually wonder if we were able to look primarily at Zen's position, whether Nico would have made a sound cue on the ladder just to pull the aim away for a split second, whether that's something that Heroic may have explored. Always a big fan of the small details. And, well, that's not a minor one. Farlig losing the scout. The money for GODSENT, of course, is absent, so bringing that over would have been a nice little benefit, but Heroic recognized that nice and early. 6-0 start for Nico, only in 2 rounds.
Martin and Stico both buying up a deagle. Farlig going for the 5-7. I really dislike that, actually. He'll have enough money for the op in the next round regardless, but utility will be a bit more dry, and as a result of that, he'll have to get aggressive to compensate. Farlig on nuke CT side is actually a very good opper, so I'll say this, that he can make it work, but it's not ideal to say the least. It does limit your options somewhat when your entire team's money is already strained as it is. Now, Crystal dodges an A, dodges the flash, rotates over, and he'll be playing a bit of a crossfire with Stico, but Heroic right now have to be careful about Zen, who's coming in from behind, and Zen with the USB comes in with a kill, but no more.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be too many real surprises outside of that one. If Zen had found 2 kills, maybe there was a chance, but all onus on Stico now if they want to turn this round on its head, and well, because he's lost Crystal, even more so.
Nico's been left behind to safeguard the weapon, and Nico's quite low. So Stico, if he's checking all of his corners, if he's doing everything right, nodding his eyes, crossing his T's, all that good stuff.
There's some really annoying angles you have to clear out, though, if you're going to go
That's
this
true, actually.
way.
There's like these really thin ones as well from the side of truck and everything. It's super frustrating.
Nah, Stico's dead, 100% surely.
Nah, maybe. I don't know about that, though. Maybe he checks this, because Nico's going a little bit wider now. He will get one kill, but that's... Okay, not quite on the player we thought he would.
Yeah.
But still, an additional kill always nice to have when he's putting that $700 investment. Pops him right over that 5k mark. He can actually buy a Molotov now as well, which wouldn't have been there otherwise. So that's actually fairly impactful.
Disgusting behavior from Nico, baiting for his 8th kill. But a nice 3-0 start for Heroic as GODSENT answer back. Of course, we talked about Farlig on the AWP. He, of course, will be missing out on a kit, something that the entire GODSENT roster is missing out on. So if it ends up in a post plant, they'll have to go rather quickly. Look at all this pressure being applied by Nico. This is actually something that Nico on X-Phase used to like to do as well. Solo himself, Farlig pressured over at ramp, and he's going to be forced back.
Zen has at least found the kill onto Nico, who's already low. So Zen, who's proceeded forward to the secret area himself, will take him down. But look at how Borub's trying to proceed. They've gone for the reverse outside control, where they go from hell instead. And Zen gets another before going down. That is inexcusable from Heroic. Now down 4 versus 3. Borub can equalize, but utility will have to be expended to actually still make their contact in. And Stico's got a gap in the smoke to work around with. Now, whether or not it works in his favor is to be seen, as Borub will see the foot right as it lingers forward. Takes him down. 2 versus 3. Farlig on the AWP yet to strike in, and true means that Heroic, well, they might have dodged a bullet, and indeed they have. Borub gets his 3rd kill of the round, and is Crystal all on his lonesome. Peeks out, drops the bomb, 35 seconds, has a chance to go for more, but needs to wide swing here, and Haidian will intercept.
Really nice effort there from Crystal. I actually thought he was going to pull that one off because he had isolated duels ahead of him, and that first kill, very, very sharp, but ultimately too tall a task. It's interesting that that we see that outside control from Heroic as soon as they lose that lurking player in Nico. I imagine if he'd gotten down safely, then they just wrapped towards the B bomb site. No problems whatsoever. Good on-the-fly reaction from Heroic. Haidian, though, with the AWP, will start things off. Of course, it is against pistols here from GODSENT, so it's less likely they're going to win a round like this, especially given Heroic's track record in these anti-ecos. And I know we've talked about GODSENT's nuke and when they pick up these pistols as being very... I want to say star-focused, or individual focus is really what I'm trying to get at. Because they don't go for gimmicky stacks, they don't set up for flash plays all too often. They just hold spots and hope that the Deegs and CZs hit.
And look, sometimes they do.
Yeah.
We definitely can't take that away from them, but it becomes a lot trickier when on the other side, Heroic does have some of that good old screw you Counter-Strike, which is, sort of what we're seeing over here, but not exactly. But it's the screw you Counter-Strike, which is that they'll sometimes take a peek and they say, yeah, we're just better than you. Borub peeking Farlig earlier in the gun round when he's got an AK and Farlig has an AWP. That's something like that. Heroic now have kind of the confidence of champions as they almost lose another player. Stico not quite able to execute him, though, and as he goes up the ladder, he will go down. But yeah, that individual confidence, you can see that right there. Tessis dropping down from the ladder, just spraying away into the dead body. There you go. Geneva Convention be damned.
There's no need. You're 5-0 up. He's already dead. Right. Now the big question becomes, we talk about Farlig on the AWP. We have seen him get more aggressive as of late, when he is typically quite a passive AWPer, but he's so good at these close-range duels. He will be still staying a little bit further back. He has a teammate up close. That will be Zen as a secondary form of contact. And he's just there to make sure that Farlig doesn't get timinged, repositioning, looking for other picks. He can play around the smoke as well. Different set of outside smokes as well for Heroic. This actually enables them to wrap towards Mini, but that's where Zen was positioned. So easy first kill. Actually finding a second as well.
Yeah, Heroic go for this with two smokes as well. Stico, though, nestled away in ramp corner. Good for a kill and almost a second. Now with a flashbang to fail, Farleg will also do the same with his shot and can no longer hold the angle. Backs off, waits for a flash of his teammate, and as Cadian is proceeding forward, Farleg almost goes down. Heroic still fighting it back with a 2v4, and CT side don't really have much utility, so in a battle of firepower and wits, Heroic definitely have a chance to take this one away. It doesn't help that Stound's very low, but his Molotov sure as hell will as he scopes backwards, watching for decontamination. Turns around for the sickest shot in the West, and he will go forward for the bomb plot as well. Cadian to cover, Cadian to spray, Cadian not to find anyone, and Stound will fall because of it. Cadian can't cover the decontamination route, and as his teammate falls, their chances with the round do as well.
I always get so concerned when players are hitting shots like that because you just know they are feeling it in the moment. To commit to a no-scope like that, the confidence as well to turn away. Good round for GODSENT to win, but Heroic definitely make that one scary. Oh no. Zen getting picked off early towards Mini as well.
That's a big one. Zen was so impactful in the previous round, bringing it home. And Farleg on the bright side is coming alive, but the second flick doesn't work, and he has to back off at this point. Does he? Is he re-peeking? Really? Wow.
Wow. And Heroic have fallen back as well, so it's actually a good read in the end. If not a dangerous game to play.
Very much so. Martin, though, his middle name is Danger, and he has been acquainted with death as well. Not quite his middle name, but a distant relative who he meets quite often. Farlig takes away Borup's life, and Cadian left in a 1v2. He started this round, and now he is in an attempt to finish. But with Farlig coming in from behind, things will be a little bit more difficult. Cadian makes his way down the fence. Do they realize that it doesn't really look like it is the case? Stiko and company, they know there's also 50 seconds left, so they can't really overcommit. And with the squeaky door of decontamination being open, that's that. Cadian waits for them to make their way over. Rotation's coming through, but they're from behind. Does he realize it? Yes, he does. Turns around. Good flick, but second peek from Stiko will secure the kill. GODSENT get it away with very, very little saved up in this round.
Yeah, one player staying over. At least GODSENT play that 2v1 rather smartly, because of course they double up. You can see Cadian was still so worried about the ramp rotation, the potential for a split coming through, and they make sure that only one player makes any audio, so Cadian still has to keep that in the back of his mind. Faster play here from Heroic. They're collapsing on this A site quickly, and Martin's dropped in an instant. The SMG is tracking him down. Crystal as well forced off of his angle. They'll have to play for retake, and sure, they have some utility to do so. They have kits as well, but they have to make sure they don't bleed out on their manpower because Cadian's found another. This actually may be a call to save now.
I mean, it has to be. After you only kept one player alive in the previous one, there's no way you can take this away. Now, on the bright side, well, not really quite the bright side, but the silver lining is that your loss bonus is still quite high. So you should have a buy in the next round as long as you can save at least 2 of these weapons, if not all 3 preferably. But that's just a big change of pace from Heroic that GODSENT just isn't expecting. The Mach 10 taking down Martin over there with a great flashbang to go with. It's completely different to how they've been taking contact with Squeaky so far. I mean, the closest we saw them, getting was Cadian just taking a peek through and getting a kill. Have you noticed that the second set of outside smokes that Heroic throws, it's very different to how other teams throw them. Heroic throws it with 2 smokes instead of 3. It leaves a big gap in the middle, though.
Yeah, I don't know if I mean, I'll imagine the gap isn't something that is intentional.
It's not possible to throw with, 2 without leaving a gap.
Okay,
see this again.
Yeah, they've done it once again. Maybe it's something... Okay, I was going to say maybe it's not by design, but... Seems like something they're factoring in. They talk about it. There's a third smoke that's thrown just to create that firm wall, and they creep their way down towards Secret. There's nobody within earshot immediately to hear that, so Zen may be none the wiser, but now they're making steps. They're collapsing on this B-bomb site. They've got a fast rotation available for GODSENT. Stiko getting away with 1 kill. The second as well, as they're not quite prepared for it, and Farlig as well, showing his hand with the AWP. A much cleaner looking round here for GODSENT, and Heroic, that outside take, yeah, that gap is a bit of an issue because it slows them down, and GODSENT were already prepared.
Yeah, you can see Stiko already having basically placed himself in a perfect off angle. Stound's good for one. Damage is important, and he knows it as well. Keeps on crouching forward, but not in with the MP9. Shows us why that is the strongest gun in the game. But yeah, Stiko was already prepared with an off angle, and sure, he gets flashed up, but he's able to get a kill in the first one, and after that, it's just subsequent kills. There you go. With those 2 kills, he's able to secure Farlig a much more stable position, where Farlig knows that just a single frag will seal the deal. Heroic will let GODSENT have a third, but let's not forget, GODSENT ideally would like to win all 6 rounds at this point.
Alright, this is the wall of smokes. I think somebody just wasn't throwing one of the smokes all in all. Great shot from Zen.
Might just go for more, as a spray through the smoke would really help them out, but apparently GODSENT don't want to reveal their positions. This is one thing about this wall of smokes, is that it makes it so risky to spray through, because the player next to Mini can just pop right out and peekaboo you down. So I guess that is one small advantage that you have with these as well.
They've called the same thing here from Heroic, just faster. To make sure that they make use of the wall of smokes a little bit quicker, and that means that Stiko cannot get that forward position. It doesn't matter though. He gets the kill anyway, even though Borb seemed to get the drop on him, getting away with 40 HP, and Heroic have cancelled here. They're doubling back, trying to take control where they can, but they're losing a lot of these fights. Long-range spray from Nico. Zen should be able to trade. No, Nico actually dodging that one too. So a lot more competitive. And oh dear.
Stound's actually made it very competitive. It's a 2v2 all over again. They've got a bomb, they've got a Molotov as well. Molly will clear out heaven, but Farlig on the one angle they didn't quite check is able to get the quick kill. Nico in hot pursuit of the Vents player is unable to connect, and Heroic, although they make it close and competitive, will still allow GODSENT the fourth. Now GODSENT over here, I like how Zen's playing on outside. He's been significantly more impactful in the past few rounds, but you do expect to see Heroic now maybe go for a bit of an adjustment. And this is where what I'm more curious about is, do GODSENT maybe try and get a bit aggressive into lobby, into ramp, get a bit more control and have Zen play more passively, because they're definitely going to ramp this round. And Stiko's ready to intercept, but can't quite get any kills off the back of it.
Yeah, wrapping towards hell. They're trying to pressure this off out of Farlig's hands. Switching to the USP, very good decision to make, and eventually Stound will get his hands on that coveted AWP, and finds a secondary frag as well off the back of it. GODSENT need to be very careful this doesn't start to snowball out of control, because Stound is really hunting for frags here. So there'll be a timing game. Martin still so concerned about a Vents dive, a flank at that. Not sure that they spotted all of the players here from Heroic. And you can see they're turtling. They're holding on to a little information they have.
Yeah, this is going to be really important for them as well, because it's not just holding on to information, it's holding on to weaponry. Caden picks up that gun. 45 seconds as well. Losing this many players early on, that is criminal. And now in a 2 versus 2, Crystal's positioning. Well, he's not checking for heaven, and right as he does, he sees the head. The timing works in his favor, but it doesn't guarantee them the round even now. Stound proceeds forward, and he gets the shot, pulls out the Glock, will be able to continue the kill as well. Bomb can be planted, but will it be so? Stound instead, perhaps just expecting Crystal to rotate in. But with 10 seconds on the clock, he knows it is his prerogative to make a move. Crystal, here's the bomb being planted, and in he drops. Down will back off immediately, play around the double doors, and he will land the shot. Beautiful stuff, as he is just impeccable in that round. 4 kills to his name, and every single one of them a beauty.
And it is an eco. No armor brought up around the pistols in from Heroic, and Stound does it all. You can see how hungry he was for that round as well. As soon as he gets his hands on the AWP, he doesn't stop moving, trying to track down GODSENT players. And you can see what it's done to that CT side economy. SMGs and Deegs to try and contain Heroic at 7.
And let's not forget, containing Heroic at 7 might not be enough anyway. Their CT side hasn't even begun yet. This is a terrorist line that is just taking over. Perfectly so. GODSENT. They've got Zen on outside, who's found a lot of success, but with the MP9, Not the most favored weapon. Heroic are setting up for an outside take as well, so Zen's about to be as tested as can be. And the question then comes in, are they going to be throwing flashes over to try and get him aggressive, or are they just going to turtle up? The utility being as low as it is means that the former is even risky, and as they drop down and take full control, there's no one to contest at all beyond just sprays or smokes, and Stown takes away Crystal's life. Now they're trying to get aggressive inside the lobby, but there's no one to find. GODSENT at every single step of the way are being read. Oh. They're being found. They're being decimated. No map control. Not even sight lines on their opponents most of the time. And how are they going to really recover this? Nico creeps in. Smoke is there.
Bomb site's free.
Still, yeah, that's the problem. This is worst possible scenario. Martin gets one short, but it will not matter.
Yeah, and you just have to save here if you're Martin. Every reaction that GODSENT were trying to go for, given how much space that they were losing outside, and the unwillingness to take that fight at long range, given that they have MP9s primarily, you can understand the decision-making there from GODSENT. But losing weapons here for Heroic does have its implications. Of course, they're trying to get this AK out of Martin's hands, but overcommitting to this can be dangerous, but only losing the couple of players. Yeah, GODSENT just have no real control, and so they have to fight for lobby instead because the MP9 better at those angles. You can get the Deke to be a lot more effective, treating it as this two-punch machine.
And
Heroic read into it fantastically.
With MP9s either.
Yeah.
Now, it's not even MP9s. It's not even Deagles across the board. It's just one Deagle, there's a CZ, and Heroic, they're ready to exploit the hell out of this. GODSENT, if there's anything that'll really be punching their confidence in the gut, it'll be a map against Heroic where they are doing this on the terrorist side. Nico starts off very nicely. Will take apart Stiko, and Zen should be next to fall. He's already been tagged up very heavily as he retreats backwards. Heroic and company. Well, Michael, there's very little that GODSENT can do to bring them back over here. It's such a difficult game to come back to, and this one last round that they'll have in the next one, this one last gun round, that's what seals their fate for the entire game, or so it seems.
Yeah, they'll still be able to get one more buy-in, but a 9th round for Heroic is, like you said, maybe a little bit too much of a task when they end up on the second half.
No, I mean, the next round is their last gun round. I mean, otherwise it's just 11-4.
Gotcha.
And even that, dude, money's horrible.
Yeah.
There's no up.
We have been praising Farlick for his rifle as of late.
Yeah, we have.
We'd much prefer him on the AWP, especially on CT side, but we have been praising his rifle. Yeah. Well, they're definitely going to need that praise to show some substance.
Really? Is that all it takes? I believe in you, GODSENT. You're amazing. Are they going to win the round now? Let's see. Michael said it, guys.
Basically me in chat when I'm watching CS games.
Yeah. it's a Tinkerbell effect. Just clap really hard and hopefully they'll be the ones to clap their opponents. Nico, because that's what Tinkerbell did, yeah, clap their opponents. Martin has already been tagged up, but Borup and company, they've been given free control over ramp, and with a Molotov and flashbang being there, Farlig has to retreat as well. Zen's fallen, and that's a huge kill. He was trying to get tricky from Secret, but Nico, this time, he gets the better of him.
Oh, a couple 1-for-1 exchanges, but Heroic still having the man advantage. Haidian eliminating space. It's really going to come down to Farlig's position. He's making some noise as well, so Nico should be aware that that's going to be a flank, but Farlig still bests him in the duel. Brings it closer. They have a kit, a smoke as well, so some of these post plants that Heroic have set up into may not even be the best because of that utility. Crystal trying to lead the way.
Well, Crystal has already lost one of his teammates, and it seems like maybe a save would have been a better choice, but Farlig doesn't even have that opportunity over here. Haidian slow peeks forward, and 10th round on the board for Heroic. They are dismantling them, and GODSENT, they've just had their wings plucked, and they no longer quite think about.
And it has to be a scrappy buy for the last round of the half. GODSENT. Can you at least get 5? Because that 11-4 scoreline is looking oh so tantalizing for Heroic. A little bit more outside control. This time, slightly different. I think that was supposed to be a smoke towards main. Yeah, I don't think that's quite where they intended it.
Borup, though, he's already had Nico take down Zen. That's been a duel going the other way for quite a while now. And Nico, he's been coming alive with a few kills here and there. Seems like pretty much all of Heroic have. Stan's had his moments. Nico's had his moments. I guess Tessus and Kaden are the only one who haven't really been lights out. But you don't really need to be lights out. And the rest of your team's doing as well as they are. Martin, the 10-14 in hand. Waiting to see what... Tessus, I said he hasn't had a chance off the sun. Stiko, wait for them to come in. Deagle at the ready. They're checking the angle, but it's not good enough. Stiko, so fantastic on the Deagle, and he's done it all. 5th round secured, courtesy of the man himself, now on top of the scoreboard.
I love that you can tell, just by the positions that people are holding, just what they're about to do. Was a bit surprised by the Martin swing with the AK. To be so successful in the duel. But you saw Stiko get in that position. It was going to be a hard one to clear for Heroic. So they do muster together 5. Now moving into the second half, of course, Heroic have a significant advantage. A lot more hinging on this pistol as you would typically expect. We'll see if they can get it over the line. A couple of flashes here for GODSENT, a smoke as well. Heroic already making a fast rotation down the vents as they have nobody really peering for outside control. Borup's only periodically peering in for it. And that smoke will begin to give up what some of the plan is.
Well, Caden's position was good, but he lets go of it a bit too early, perhaps expecting them to face into him. It's down, tagged up just a little bit early on, but he will be finished by Stiko, the one who stole away the previous. 5v4, Nico and Ooh, actually, GODSENT. They've thrown a little bit of an interesting state of affairs. Borup will fall as well. Suddenly, this becomes a nearly impossible retake without a kit or a flashbang. Farlig is ready to take over Secret. There's no way the player gets past him. And with the P250 missing a few shots, it got dicey. But even so, Farlig good for the kill. And now Caden has to deal.
Yeah, he moves away from one P250 straight into another. Zen ultimately finding that frag. I'll test this. If he gets away with full, healthy armor, it bodes well, because you expect Heroic to buy up in that second round. Does he actually get checked? Okay, Tess is actually finding the kill. Jumping Crystal. He could have converted the teammates, but Tessus is making this a little bit more dangerous. Just in terms of limiting the upgradability of that armor for the T side, it does have its economic implications.
Yeah. Also, he can just drop over a Scout as well, because he already has Scout Plus. So a Deagle on him. Scout dropped over. Utilities now have with the $600 extra. That's actually quite important because Caden, his Scout, can sometimes come alive. And it's not quite Circin, it's not quite Chris J, but hey, still can make it work.
Oh, yeah.
Is that Molly from a CT side to deny the smoke? That's a very expensive luxury to be using when you're on a 4-spy round.
Hey, but a big gap in a wall of smokes could be all you need. Caden firing off a couple shots with the Scout. They're wrapping quickly for Nico's down, and Borup there to trade things out, but ultimately collapsed on. Too much firepower for GODSENT, and they're cut out from the site. So Caden, yeah, quick call to save. Tessus as well will join him shortly. Good couple rounds in a row here for GODSENT.
That got very dangerous for a second, though. Borup could have really done a lot more damage. He flails about too much with the Deagle, unfortunately can't quite pluck players out of thin air like Stiko did earlier, but GODSENT definitely playing with fire. Heroic will concede the 7th round to GODSENT over here. GODSENT, fantastic set of affairs from the pistol run and the anti-4 spy. So Could be the makings of a comeback, but we'll still have to hold our horses for the first gun round at least.
I will say GODSENT look a lot more composed, playing far more together when they're taking outside control. Sometimes we do see them default for the early period, then commit to something later, but then you'll have these lingering presences towards lobby or ramp that aren't really a part of any real collapse. I'm sure that is important to make sure that there's no CT side reaction, but it seems to be a lot more well-timed here from GODSENT. See if that keeps up throughout the remainder of the half. Then only on a P250. Expect him to dart and dive about, but he's got the bomb, so maybe dissuaded from doing so.
Where does that nade go to is a big question for me. Well, I'm sure we'll have it answered soon enough. Down and company all playing around the lobby. Farlig takes the elevator up to the second floor, well, first floor, I guess, if you're European. And he'll wait for that. Elevated floors always confuse me whenever I went to Europe. This is like, okay, why do you have to call it a ground floor, guys? But nah, it's all good. Then 10 to 7, and in they go. Martin gets the first. Farley connects with the second. Easy enough frags for them, and it will just be the quickest cleanup you've ever seen. Borup can't find anything either, despite there being a few low players, and that'll be that 8th round on the board for GODSENT.
Yeah, we see a spam as well through towards the hut position. Of course, clearing out the Tetris or triple box makes things a whole lot easier, especially when they don't have armor. Like you said, the full buy. KD now on the AWP, we know how influential he can be, and he takes a lot of ownership on these CT sides as well, being very proactive. I will say, though, in the GODSENT default, I see teams do this all the time, it's just a pet peeve of mine, but moving up the ladder in lobby is such a dangerous timing to open yourself up to. If you're going to go on that elevated angle, just do it from up high instead.
Well, I mean, there are pros for it, I suppose, but it's absolutely a place where you can get caught off easily. It's generally nice just to have someone watching over the angle, so at least it's a one-for-one trade at worst. But yeah, heroic utilities low. They'll have to rely on firepower, and Borup's good for it's down as well with a quick kill. Borup still preventing them from getting into Squeaky Door as he peeks forward, and he knows that they've turned around and gone back to ramp where there is yet another player relying in white. Nico, such a threat continually, and he will continue to do just that. Sprays them down, and with Cadian's assistance, finishes a perfect round on Heroic's board. All 5 players kept alive. All of them went for AUGs. They went for M4s. They went for an AWP. So not even an MP9 save forward, and now they get full utility. Beautiful stuff from Heroic.
Did we see ever a clean round from GODSENT where everybody stayed alive? I don't think so.
Not the eco, the first pistol round. On the T side. They kept 5 players alive.
Well, that hardly counts. Well, no, they died to Tessus.
No.
Oh, no, that was second
oh,
pistol,
that was after.
Yeah. Well, either way.
They did actually lose players, never mind. They won the round, but like by the time it finished, the last guy got a few kills. Yeah, you're right.
Eric, looking good. That economic benefit that comes with keeping everybody alive. Gonna create that little buffer. I like the smoke here from GODSENT, though. Nico denied information as they do set themselves up on the side low. They're looking to take some main control. Seems like Stown pushing past the smoke does catch Madden off guard, and he's able to escape as a result of the smoke as well.
Well, Nico! Oh no, Nico. Dear. Doesn't quite turn around in time. I think he's playing on 4-3. Otherwise, would have definitely seen the player out of the corner of his eye. But 3 versus 4 as a result of that, and although Crystal is low, he still can stay in the back and see what he can find. Zen, good for 1, going for more, but doesn't expect the angle from Stown. And now it's just him and Cadian. Cadian playing from inside the lobby. The bomb is on the other side of that wall. Steeko proceeds forward, and he's cut off Cadian's head. With that, it's a 1v1, and Stown is incredibly low. He has to go for the ace clutch if he wants to win this. And even there, honestly, could just save the AWP, and I wouldn't hate him for it.
He is here quickly, though. Oh, the spam.
Oh! This could go either way so easily. Stiko walking around the smoke, and in the reload, Stown is cut off. Oh dear. It always is that pesky reload. Gives away such a big sound cue as well. Stiko would just feel confident.
Yeah, not only that as well, he's just jiggle peeking the angle to make sure that Stiko doesn't somehow find a timing, sneak his way around. That's what gives up the game. Denied the ace clutch. Such a great performance from Stown as well. Dipping and darting out of fights, though he loses teammates along the way. But there's that impact. The fact they had that clean round, they can reinvest into this for Heroic. And that's a very costly one at that for GODSENT, so this is a swing round.
Well, Caden swung Stiko from a little bit of a tree over there as he pushes through. GODSENT's own utility is fairly limited as well, so if they want to go for a late side hit later on, it'll be difficult, but Crystal, faced off versus too many players, will lose his life as well. Back down to a 4 versus 3, but they do lose control over Garage because of it, and that could come back to bite them. Now, Tessus is repositioning because of it. He's holding a very tight little angle next to the generator before deciding to drop back down to the locker room. Martin inside the side already. They weren't expecting it. He'd walked all the way through Squeaky, and Borup is eliminated. Now, 3v3, and Martin is expecting Haidian, but not quite the right place to put his crosshair at. Now, the T side has been detected. Molotov in vents will secure them forward, and Zen's found the equalizer.
Haidian was siphoned off by the Molotov for just a few seconds, and ooh, the position.
And that's why Colzera loves that angle. He used it against GODSENT in the DreamHack Open as well to a lot of great use. And I like that Zen himself has picked that one up for his own clutch rounds in the 1v2. It's so difficult to cater to as well. And Heroic, although you're thinking, yeah, they're swinging out 2 players at a time, that should be easy enough. Seeing the head pop up is very difficult. There's a reason why whack-a-mole is a little bit hard. And now GODSENT, they're up to 10 rounds. Heroic as well, with their money being where it is, unless they're able to pull off a second Eco Miracle. This should be the equalizer. GODSENT, this is why I said you don't want to pick Nuke against them. They can do so much, and Martin right now, playing from where Stiko generally can be found, has made A-side his stomping grounds. Watches for them pushing inwards. Flashbang there as well. It'll be helping him out just a little bit, and GODSENT have read this perfectly, and with a nade from Stiko, they're up 4 versus 2.
Well, 4 versus 1 now. It's down. Sees his teammate get executed in his peripheral vision. Not a good sign. But an equalizing round. Very, very likely. That 0.1% chance. You know, I still have my doubts, but there's no real issues.
And B250.
I think Mouse's analyst, actually, he made a blog post recently where he discusses the top 5 hardest teams to prepare against. He lists GODSENT as one of them because they are so sporadic, so unpredictable based on them changing not only who wields the AWP, but how they rotate around the map in the mid-round. A lot of that comes down to feel or how what information that players feel like they're getting at their specific spots, which makes them so hard to predict.
I mean, there's also another factor, which is that GODSENT do not get invited to as many tournaments. And they have a real in-game leader, so they can really prep. Now, I'll hold that thought as Nico's waiting for them to maybe peek out into him. Not sure if they quite heard him being tagged up, and as he gets on top of the red container, he will be found. Zen to take him down. Farlig now inside the side as he goes aggressively forward. Borup, good for the kill, but his HP is basically non-existent, and he will be falling soon enough. But Haidian, in the meanwhile, has already found one, and the rest of the team has come through to back up the ace side. Seiko, left alone, 1v4, makes it 3. But can he make it all the way through. The player on the rafters, he's not going to check it. Tessis finishes him off. GODSENT seemed like they had that round neatly tied up in a knot, but Borup winning the duel versus Farley gives him so much more time to rotate Haidian and Tessis over. Suddenly, things get dicey.
And this is the spot they find themselves in now. A bit of an awkward buy. They have players that can invest. We've seen a couple of them already commit. Crystal is the most I mean, you wouldn't be too sad to see him on a pistol and some utility instead. A sacrifice he's very willing to make himself at times as well, but GODSENT do sometimes go for these half investments where they keep some money around. Yeah. This is a bit more of an awkward spot where that's less likely, so we do see the rifles are out, but this is something that we have to highlight, especially on Nuke. You look at the heavy utility maps, because you're going to be skimping out a little bit on your nade set, you may have to play the round out slightly faster, try and take control earlier without having to expend as much utility. See if that does turn out to be the case, or whether GODSENT continue with these different setups in the early round, but still working the map rather slowly. See Crystal just out with the Deagle by himself.
Oh, Stiko, beautiful entry as well, and with that, Martin finds a second. It's down to 4, Stiko now all the way through to hell, waits for the peek for in, the Molotov obscures his vision for just a second, but he's good for it regardless. 5 versus 2 now. And Heroic has to say, there's no way they get anything done over here, and you're right. The faster pace play is what catches Heroic with their pants down. I don't think they had a correct read on their economy, actually. Borup creeps through, Crystal falls short, but that's the most expendable player on your team. That's the only guy who doesn't have a rifle. You trade him for information of one of the remaining 2 players? Hell yes, absolutely. At least that's what I tell myself every time I die.
It's like, I've got info, I've created space. Yeah. Go! Take A, quick!
The good old Dota ways. But even so, this is really important. Now, Borup, him getting even a single kill over here is nice to have. Let's not make any mistake about it. GODSENT, although they're doing really well, they're still far behind as far as the, really cushy place of having $10K across the board is. So, economy is important. Let's not take anything away from that. But I wanted to quickly add something to your point, Michael, where you were talking about how hard it is to prepare for GODSENT. Mm-hmm. Let's not forget that Crystal has taken several different lineups to majors. He's taken several different lineups to top 20. Crystal was the guy who was with Valiance, now Contact, when they entered the top 20, when they were winning their DreamHack Opens before Esperanto wanted him out. Crystal's been in so many different lineups and so many different styles that you know for sure, you give this guy a week and a half, he'll have an entirely new playbook on a map. So how are you ever going to prepare against that? It's just not possible.
Absolutely. 100% agree. Now it's a little bit more difficult to call as to which way this one goes. GODSENT riding a wave of momentum. Stiko looking for frags, and he's taken Tessis down to very low HP. This creates some space. It forces a rotation out as well, and Stiko happy to capitalize on it.
As huge, Stiko can destroy the CT signs whenever he makes his way all the way through to hell. It's so likely, and Crystal, as he gets information of the midi play, he should know that the A bomb site probably doesn't quite have someone in heaven, but that could be a bad call. There's 2 players waiting for the push from Stiko to come in. Stiko, unless he hard clears these angles very slowly, should be overrun by them. But does he actually creep forward? Heroic, this is the ultimate game of chicken. Who clocks first? And Stiko's waiting for some backup to come in before he can really go in, and they're going to be peeking forward into 2 players. Martin's already found the first as well, and with this, Molotov can't delay them long enough. Haidian will fall next, and although he's able to get a kill from beyond the grave, it's Tessis who's next to descend into the grave with him. 4 versus 2, and GODSENT, for the first time in this entire game, at the most crucial of points, will be up in rounds 13 to 12. This is the 2-0 possibility I was talking about.
Absolutely. And we talked a little bit about how they were maybe sometimes missing Zen, Stiko. They're right up top alongside pretty much everybody from GODSENT is contributing, which is what's the crazy thing. And even though Stiko doesn't find a kill in this round, he is the most influential player in deciding how this round plays out, because Heroic not only lose ramp control so early that GODSENT just sit and wait for Heroic to look for information, because do GODSENT just wait all of that time? Do they start making their way towards the lower bomb site? Those are things that Heroic need to know, and especially in a 5-on-5, you cannot hope to just hold on to your bomb sites in the late round when GODSENT are likely setting up for an execute. So they go, look for information towards Hell, and it's a trap.
No, I absolutely love this, and I think it's really important that you're pointing out that Stiko and Zen are doing as well as they are, because traditionally these two P players, when they were at their peak on Nuke, were the highest fraggers. But right now the addition is that, generally speaking, on Nuke, whenever GODSENT would do well, Modern wouldn't be alive. Modern's top fragging with 21. So this is the worst possible GODSENT to go up against if you're Heroic right now. And now outside, where there's this much pressure, there's two players already waiting inside Secret. Question is, though, and always will be, do they go into Secret? Tessis on the P250, awkward angle as any, but he'll be cleared out, but still wins the deal. Crystal taken down, AK is recoverable without exposing him to anyone else, and he will be able to pick it up as he moves forward. So a bit more firepower and suddenly a lot more rest for the GODSENT side, but Stiko quick to trade and equalize down, taking the duel and will win it. Stiko to fall soon after, and it's a 4 versus 3.
And they're trying to contain them towards outside where possible. Fast rotations available towards B as well if GODSENT had made their way down towards Secret, but they're wrapping. Nico very prepared for this, a deep angle to clear. First duel should be good, the second may be harder to line up. As they go for the double swing, he actually does so much damage on the secondary player, but Zen brings it back to a 1-on-2. Those 2 kills are crucial, giving him room. And now, if he gets himself onto this bomb site rapidly, he can set up into a post plant that may be difficult to find here for Heroic. We saw Zen bail them out in a 1v2 previously. Maybe he can get it done again. Oh no, Tessis spamming him down through the smoke. Not going to be allowed the chance.
GODSENT will... that's a rough round to lose to Heroic. It all comes off the back of Tessis initially finding the AK-47 as well. The P250 just getting a quick kill from an off angle. And that's one of the reasons why I always am a little bit hesitant to have Crystal be the player who's lurking forward to Secret, which he loves to do. He can be very good at finding information, but sometimes the aim just doesn't go his way. And look, that's a crazy off angle. You're never checking that in all fairness. But that is also where you get punished. So five versus 2 in Tessis and Nico. Welcome to safe territory, I guess.
Yeah, no money really left on a few of the players on Heroic. So it has to be a 5-on-2. At the very start of the round as well. And this is something we typically praise Heroic for changing things up, you know, throwing a few more dynamic plays on the CT side, because being stagnant, especially when you've got a firm IGL, like you said on Crystal, yep, that can really play into their hands. But they try and do something slightly different. You can see them postured up over at the door. We just see the corpses. We didn't see the frags. But Stiko's in a great spot. Whether or not he consistently gets 2 in that position, that can be thrown into a bit more question. But so much impact being found by Stiko, particularly on this T side. And GODSENT again will find themselves in a lead.
And it's not just a lead, Michael. It's also a place where Heroic don't get the magic number. They don't get the third. Now, fortunately, they do have enough money to be able to buy up a gain over here. But what that means is this is do or die. If you don't win this round, you have to save 3 players. If you're saving 3 players, then I'd personally be really surprised on my own with the way GODSENT's been playing. They've generally been able to aggress forward and punish quickly. So at most, you're going to be able to save 2 players, in my opinion. But Obviously, that's not what you're thinking of if you're heroic. If you're heroic right now, all you're thinking is, how the hell do we get out of this bad situation? And I think Borup in particular has quieted down so much. On the terrorist side, Borup was fantastic. Borup, I believe, started off like, what, 8-0-0? Was that Borup? Or was that Nico?
That was Nico.
Okay, but Borup was still doing really well initially, getting some great entry frags, doing some great stuff. Now he's 13 and 19. He's quieted down like nothing else. Tessus as well hasn't had the best of games. It really has been Stown and Nico who've been carrying the show, and even Nico, well, he's kind of like a fading actor. He's in his twilight years at this point, but Stico, maybe he can be the one to take all the fame, all the glory for himself, make a comeback in his career.
Well, we'll see how prepared Heroic are for this. Borup on top of the hut. Molotov out of position. Good jump away, though. He's going to be a bit of a nuisance now, collapsing towards that A site, but it's a fake. Tessus receiving a lot of pressure towards ramp, and he finds a secondary kill on Farlig on the Molotov alone. This has not gone to plan here for GODSENT. They can't flush Tessus out, and Borup hot on their heels. He's containing them, boxing them in, and they fight now for control. A 2-on-4 from this position after they tried to go for the execute. Not how GODSENT had drawn it up, but Heroic read into it well.
Zen gets an angle, but not the kill. It all comes down to Martin and what he can get done in this situation. Stown's coming in from behind, though, and Martin might not expect it, but he moves past right at that instant. And Martin, beautiful stuff. The first headshot will allow them the bomb plant. With this Stown, he can't really help out until it's too late. Martin sees him as well now that his position's given away. Things are much more dicey. CTs will try to congregate. They do have some offensive utility on Stown. Question is, how do they want to use it? The player from Vents has rotated back to Secret, and over he goes. Nico will now be proceeding forward. Martin expecting this in outside mini. He gets the duel down to fall, and as the secondary player will fall down as well, Zen will have heard him. Zen misses the shot, though. That's everything. That's it gone. He doesn't have the bomb planted for him. Grenade will not matter. Martin peeks out. Martin to fall as well. One missed shot. That one missed shot is all it takes. Heroic. A 4v2 that should have been easy, but honestly, it's GODSENT who gives that round away.
You can see the opportunity right there, and you're right. That round hinging on that one missed op shot. Won't harp on it for too long, because I'm sure that may haunt them if this goes to an overtime or Heroic take this game. Good fast play here from Crystal, but Nico spams him down. He's been going for these more individual plays. This time he has his team behind him, but they're not in a place to trade, and Nico has done one better. A secondary kill, all the meanwhile Cadian's applying pressure. This is a very deflated GODSENT. The round just after losing a potential clutch comeback. Stico now left in a 1-on-5.
Heroic. Good old plot armor comes in. And they played this round out beautifully. They really counteract GODSENT, and it looked like GODSENT did somewhat go into autopilot for this one. Would have loved to see a timeout come through before the round really proceeded. But it is just going to be a save from Stico. Loss bonus, nearly non-existent. No bomb plan either. This is going to be a very rough last round for GODSENT. And I hate to say it, but it might very much be their last round for the map.
God, and it's been so close. There have been some big wins for Heroic. We saw them win off of pistols when they were on the T side. We saw GODSENT getting bailed out in a 1-on-2 from Zen. And they almost pulled off the 2 versus 4. But it's just not to be. Heroic, that protagonist, you're right, the plot armor. Just when they meet a bit of difficulties and they're hunting for Stico. He may die after time here as well. Oh dear, he has to tuck himself away. Surely not. They're trying really desperately, and there is worst case scenario. $350 in pocket for Stico. Buy a P250, buy a smoke. That's all you got.
Mate, go buy yourself a Big Mac because you need some comfort food after that one.
Oh dear.
Heroic. up to 15. They may have had to go a bit too close, but it seems like they are ready to execute. But there's still one final hurdle. There's still one final set of GODSENT players that can walk past and walk through. And we know this can be the hardest point. Sometimes teams can just capitulate. Sometimes teams can fold. Haidian, though, sees the players crossing over. And with this, they will now rotate back down to lower. Martin, the only one with an AK-47, the one on whom all the hopes lie. Minute and 12. Heroic. Not getting aggressive, and that's really what Stiko was hoping for outside of Squeaky. Molotov used, and the only utility they have left is a smoke on Farlig. Heroic themselves are somewhat shy of full utility as well, so this is very much going to be a good old-fashioned firepower battle, and Tessus is about to be acquainted with a lot of them, but not before Stown takes contact, and Tessus will now aggress forward, but Zen's brought him down. Stown as well, he's running out of bullets, he pulls out the pistol, but Farlig will get the kill and the advantage with it. Martin, 2 HP, sure, but that's still 2 HP too many for the side of Heroic. Zen, waiting for the peak to come through. His angle is perfect. No one ever pre-fires this, and if they do, then, well, I'm just wrong. Heroic, the bomb's not planted yet, but Zen's pushing forward. He wants to get aggressive. He's caught the player out with the smoke. He will be trying to bait the shot. Succeeds in that as well. Zen's taking him down. Now a 3v2. Borb and Nico. They don't have time on the T side, and that's what they're trying to take advantage of. Nico finds the kill, but he's traded away. Borb gets another. He's in a 1v1. Bomb can be planted. Farlig will have it in time, and now it all comes down to this. 17 HP on the CT player. Farlig waits for this. He's up onto the rafters, and they're not going to be expecting where the CT is coming from. But Farlig, positioning is perfect. Door is closed as well. There's no way Borb checks this angle immediately, and immediately you see Farlig taking it to overtime. And turns out plot armor isn't real for Heroics, not quite in that fantasy. And GODSENT aren't quite out of it just yet. Zen, what a way to recover after his missed shot. Beautiful stuff from him.
And those are the rounds that GODSENT, somehow or another, top teams or not, they take these scrappy buys so consistently. It is a dicey one. It comes down to a one-on-one. They had the B-bomb site for so long, and they never got the bomb planted. Okay, what is that from Crystal? Straight to the overtime. He spammed one through a smoke. Fortunately for Heroic, they still have some presence outside, so Stown can keep things contained. Does he get cleared at this angle? Oh, they're leaving him, and he's letting them pass initially. He's lining up more than one frag. 2 kills in from Stown. They collapse, and that is a shutdown outside from Heroic. Straight into the overtime. Stiko left to clutch.
Stiko left. Like he just left
that's
the server.
it.
Yeah.
Woo! What a good, comfortable read there for Heroic. Sure, they lose that first player, but they keep cool-headed. They don't overface, they don't overspray. And that is just a shutout. GODSENT, go elsewhere. Don't take outside.
I also love how Stown, after getting the first kill, he looks to his right instead of his left, because he knows there's still one player to go who's likely going to be coming in from behind, and that's how he secures a 3K. Otherwise, it would have just been 2, and you really don't know what you're in for from that point. But Stiko finds a kill, so does Martin, and GODSENT says, you know what, you fight us, we'll fight you right back. Blow for blow, swing for swing, and Heroic, they are still falling all across the board. No perfect round so far from GODSENT, but maybe this can be the first one. And as he sees the player jumping right past him, the flashbang will not force him to shoot out, will not be able to bait the bullet. Bomb can be recovered. Then moves past, smokes off Mini as well, and could walk through the smoke at this point, but who's outplaying who? Tessus might not realize this, but Zen, he's still sticking around, and Zen sees the player as he peeks forward. This time he hits the shot. 16-16. 2 versus 5, and hearts are broken in the exact same fashion of the 2v4 earlier.
God, what a recovery. What a recovery there from Heroic. They lose everybody in those opening duels. It comes to a 2-on-5, they bring it to the clutch. It had to be Zen hitting that shot. Jeez, it is so close between these two teams. Either of them can run away with a round.
Let's not forget, Heroic's the #1 team in the world with an 85% win rate on Nuke, but they haven't faced Falling yet. Oh, Nico! There's no way you're getting past these two big bad boys. And Nico,
God,
he's been tagged up, forced back. Zen to finish him off with a Molotov, and that's it. There you have it, 17-16. Heroic, #1 team in the world, 17-3.
Oh my God.
In their overall record, 85% win rate. And GODSENT's kind of walking over them right now. I wonder about walking over them a bit much, but still, definitely much more competitive than Heroic thought it would be.
Yeah, they pick into this map. Full confidence, even knowing that it's a good map for GODSENT.
Even knowing that Vertigo should be an auto win for them.
Yeah. And this is the scary thing, right? We talked about how GODSENT just need these players to activate. They have come to play.
Yep. Farlig initially tagged up pretty heavily, though. So they'll be limiting his mobility somewhat. Zen moves through the smoke. He's going to be able to get in behind them. Zen! He's got a feel of this game like no one else does. But Heroic are speeding up. Stiko has to delay for Zen to be able to come over. Stiko good for one, Martin a second. But it's Zen in the back lines who's provided the space they need. Stown left alone because of it. And he's in a 1v3. Picks up the AWP. He's been good with it before. But can he get it done over here? Can he prevent GODSENT from getting to game point? Stown creeps through. Doesn't quite catch the timing, and that'll be CTs having one more angle in their favor. They're not exposing themselves, and Farlig to close. What a round from GODSENT. 18-16, Heroic. Now not only on the back foot, but they're facing off against game point, map point on their own map pick.
And that's something that GODSENT didn't pull out in regulation. They didn't flank through the smoke. They didn't try it. And Heroic don't honor that. They go for a faster play. They're hoping to bypass it if it even is a possibility. The Zen was just there so quickly, and Stiko did what he needed to slow them down. They are working off each other. They're throwing in a few different setups, taking a few more risks. And that may just be enough to take them over the line. Heroic, last chance.
And you can't help but root for a good underdog story, but if you're a fan of Heroic right now, then you can't be happy with how this has materialized so far. Borup. Smoke's getting ready for the triple smoke outside take. Of course, this one is more for a mini control rather than anything else. And then, I mean, we outlined on CT's side how effective he was in outside, playing from outside of mini. This time, we'll have to wait to see whether it's still true. Borup stepped up in a single round of overtime so far. Can it be 2? Nico as well. Down towards lower. Could be troublesome to deal with, but at 45 seconds, that smoke pops. Perfect timing. Nico creeps in. Zen on the other side, but he's on top of him. The question is, does he hear this? And he should. The flashbang goes out. Zen will have heard it, and he knows there's only one player there. Martin, here's the Molotov going forward. He will be peeking out sooner rather than later. He always likes to get aggressive, but maybe Heroic can get the timing over here. Martin sees the AK, and he can't get the win. Borup and Cadian take over the A-bomb side, and now it's back to a 2 versus 3. Borup is low, though, and he will fall. Chico in the flank. Comes in, but Zen has a smoke covering off the angle. Can't quite connect through it. Stiko sees the second player. Zen will get the kill. 2v1. Cadian alone. Solo on the AWP. The in-game leader has to lead his team through to greener pastures, and he's found the first, revealing his position as he does so. So worried about where Stiko can come from. Stiko circling around. Stiko moving forward. Cadian's missed the shot. Stiko gets a kill. 19-16. GODSENT take game number 1.
The strongest
my
map
God.
in Heroic's pool, and it has been upset and stolen away by GODSENT. They came to play. We talked about some of the win conditions. Zen, Stiko, do they activate? We can rely on Madden a bit more consistency. Everybody is there. They have their critical moments. We see fantastic opening frags, these quick collapses from GODSENT, because they're taking more individual fights, more individual risk associated with it. That actually works in their advantage, because Heroic, you saw when they switch onto their T side, when pressure starts getting applied, they actually seem a little bit more timid, a little bit more scared to take those opening duels, and GODSENT are loving that.
And I mean, these two teams were so evenly matched that
Yeah.
it seemed like storylines were even going the same way. It's so ridiculous because in the first half, Heroic wins themselves an eco round. In the second half, GODSENT wins themselves an eco round, and that's the one to get them to overtime. Then in second half, we see Zen losing a 2v4 right at the very end of it, after bringing it all the way back. Then we see, on the other hand, same thing happens for Heroic in overtime. They lose a 2 versus 5 that they bring down to a 1v1. Then Stound's able to get into a corner, because in overtime, that's the first time they've gone for outside control in that way, aggressive way. Zen then immediately after that creeps with a smoke from behind them. It's just blow for blow, but at the end of the day, the knockout punch is landed by GODSENT, but it's not quite game over. We've still got another 1 or maybe 2 maps to go. Overpass is up next, and that one will be GODSENT's map pick, so we'll be back with that in just a bit. Stay tuned, because why would you want to be anywhere else when there's this fantastic Counter-Strike to be had? We'll be back in just a bit with the rest of the Elisa Invitational. And we're back with the Elisa Invitational. It's time to see whether or not GODSENT can really complete their nice little Cinderella run. I wouldn't quite call it a Cinderella run, but I feel like they lost their shoes somewhere along the way and they found a prince. So Michael, Yumi Cassidy on the mic with me will explain to you how exactly this analogy works, because I really can't do it myself.
Yeah, I don't think Cinderella is probably the most accurate we could pull it through, but it's definitely an underdog story. We get Nuke picked into it first. That's the best map in the pool for Heroic. Even against teams like Astralis, you've seen some of the interviews with the Heroic guys. Like, they're surprised that Astralis will even pick a Nuke into them because of how strong it is. But they pick it themselves, and GODSENT perform the upset. Everything went right for GODSENT in the fact that they get the star players that they need to stepping up in the moment, these contact plays that Heroic were never really prepared for, and it is going to be a massive upset. Best team in the world, fighting for the Elisa Invitational and fighting for a spot in the Blast Showdown. You could see as well from the interviews when Cadian came on after their win to get to this point, like, oh yeah, GODSENT may be like a little bit tilted that they're having to face us for the final for one of the spots, but that tilt may go the other way because GODSENT could perform the 2-0 here.
Especially on a map like Overpass, things can go desperately wrong very quickly. Now Nico's been tagged up initially already. That's down to 78 for him. Crystal smoking a Molotov is all he's got, but look at how Heroic are playing this with 4 players over towards the A bomb side early on. Borp is keeping his retreat bots primarily back towards Divider and Connector, so he's actually fairly lucky that GODSENT aren't going for a faster based play, because at this stage, no one's actually bled through on Heroic's side into B short, and as a result of that, if GODSENT just wanted to contest him inwards, his trajectory back cannot be through Connector, and that makes it a little bit more tricky.
Yeah, and we expect this to be the standard set here for GODSENT. They love a little bit of connector control, opening up their options. See Borp force back, Stown and Borp combining for a couple of frags though, and they're eventually going to get tracked down. Zen hot on the heels of the second. Tessus is very low, so he just has to keep running, but his pathway has been blocked off. Zen's going to get there too quickly, and that's an easy enough kill to find.
Quick equalization, and with 40 seconds left on the clock, Crystal having a lot of utility makes this incredibly tricky. Now, keep an eye on Cadian, because he's going to be the big one for this map. GODSENT, I've said it before, I'll say it again, they're very much like old school Pronax. They're very happy to rotate back when there's 30 seconds left on the clock, but Cadian is expecting it. Smoke goes over, Zen takes contact, and with the Molotov there as well, it seems like Cadian might not be as useful as I thought he would be. They're going back towards the A bomb side, but Nico's dropped the bomb, and Nico's going for more. Crystal will trade. Yes, the USB chiming in nice and true, but Stown still good for the kill. GODSENT unable to check the corner, and that'll be all she wrote for the round. Really nicely played from Heroic all across the board.
Yeah, in spite of taking all that early damage, they take some long-ranged engagements, and that little bait and switch as well. Nico, he gets the kill he needs to. After he dies, it's just an uncleared angle.
Also, Cadian being able to spot the utility means that, hey, I know I said he wasn't as useful, but spotting the utility means he knows it's a fake. So
yeah,
no rotations come through later on into the round as well. And now GODSENT, they have to go for the full Deagle round. And although we do always say, yeah, GODSENT wins these most of the times, it'll be a little bit harder to do versus Heroic.
Well, that said, they did win a couple on Nuke. Certainly still the chance. Stiko gonna get dropped nice and early on. He was the solitary player sent over towards B. Tessus, though, in a very difficult position. There's going to be a couple angles he needs to be concerned about. That smoke doesn't provide full coverage. Cadian can now pick it up, but he's low.
Oh, Cadian. Needed another kill over there, and with Zen finding 2, suddenly things are very expensive at the CT side. Deagle in Crystal's hands means that a long-range duel could very quickly go awry as well. Now, admittedly, both these players are low enough that this should be a secure round from Heroic. But even so, for GODSENT, it's all about damage at this point, Michael.
Yeah.
And can they really get it done?
Borp at least segments them. He's outside of the connector. He can peer and spot the feet if they do decide to go back towards the B site. I mean, 20 seconds, and they haven't really made a move. They've got a decent amount of utility if they wanted to bring that into the next round. It's a bit of an odd choice to make, though.
Yeah.
This changes the buying pattern so much on the T side.
I'm very confused. No, okay, I'll play devil's advocate. You've got a Tech-9, you've got a Deagle, and you've got 2 weapons. So, theoretically, this could just be 4 players having weapons now. Or at least having kill power. So...
You're putting a lot of stock in winning this round, though.
I guess, but at the same time, it's also that Crystal has himself an MP9, so if he gets a kill, maybe 2 kills... I mean, it's a stretch. Don't get me wrong, but... Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this one materializes, especially when you consider they don't have Kevlar on Farlig or Stiko, so as much stock as they're putting in, it's still the good old half buy, really. So we'll have to wait to see how this goes.
Cute little boost, does get spotted out. So at least some information gathered that GODSENT are within middle. Tessus as well will make things a lot more difficult if GODSENT decide to approach, set up for any sort of an execute. They only have 1 smoke, 1 flash, and a Molotov. You can see they're very conscious of connector. Tess is still not moving a muscle within it, though.
And a quick contact play later on into the round could go the way of GODSENT, but Heroic's positioning is incredibly good over here. Cadian spots out a player, now spraying through the smoke. Is unable to really connect on anyone. Does some damage, but not the kill. 40 seconds on the clock. Rotations can still come through, and like you said before, Tessus is frozen stiff. Don't close your eyes or he'll come even closer. Tessus comes alive with 2 quick ones and even has a chance to fade away because GODSENT's spacing allows just that. Reload is needed, but he's not going for it. 3 bullets in the gun, pulls out the USB instead. Crystal finally to find him and picks up the Farmers for his trouble. A 3 versus 4 with 2 pharmacists is doable, but it needs Martin to come alive with the deco. And as he goes forward, that's exactly what happens. Zen finds another and the second. Suddenly a 2 versus 1. M4 recovered. Martin has Kevlar as well. Nico, no utility. So GODSENT might be very close to stealing away around, but Nico has something to say about it. 1 versus 1, sees the shadow. And he will find the kill. There you go. But oh so close. Oh so close.
Yeah, that is such a dangerous round. Nico surviving on 20 HP, has to come up big with a 1-on-2. And time was running low there for GODSENT. Had they met any of these speed bumps, the hurdles over on that B site, had they lost a couple players on the initial push towards B, that could have certainly gone the other way. In a far more convincing fashion, but it keeps the money low for Heroic. Did kind of question the buy coming into the follow-up round, but because they get the bomb planted, no real issues. The Galil having to be bought through from Crystal, but full nade sets for the GODSENT players, so they can work the map appropriately. Crystal now taking some short water control alongside Stiko. And a decent amount of damage exchanged. Nico down to 33.
Important nade over there. Does a little bit less damage than I thought it would, but even so, Cadian's found the first. It's Martin to fall. Cadian took the peek out into connector with the AWP, and the bomb is recovered afterwards. Now, Tessus' positioning is incredibly important, but Stiko's found Stown, and that actually makes things slightly more touchy for the CT side. They don't know where they have to go, but they'll at least know they're rotating back from all the way in T-spawn. Borup says Cowabunga as he says all the way across the monster tunnel. I'd like to think he says that at least in his head. But now the MP5 is brought down. Crystal to be the one to take him away.
Yeah, now that the Surfer dude's been eliminated. Oh my goodness, Crystal jumping on Nico's head!
Stiko within the madness will fall and is back to a 2v2. Farlig and Zed oh so low, and they know they need to be aggressive because of it, but the AWP on the other side makes it a little bit more touchy. Cadian keeps scoping forward. The CT player will fall. Don't know if they're willing to peek onwards. Tessus is on full HP, has the ultimate advantage, but as he proceeds forward, the bomb's not quite planted for him. Cadian finds the first. Farlig is trying to save his trigger for the 2, but unfortunately just isn't able to get it done. Again, despite it getting very close, Heroic are able to save the day off the back of the Stiko kill.
Yeah, Farley could have definitely turned that round on his head had they not been all too concerned about that deep monster play. Unfortunately enough for Caden, his teammate is watching it. A 4th for Heroic that GODSENT are going to once again buy into. They are on that max loss bonus. They do get the bomb planted, so they can consistently go for this if they get those conditions met. Madden, bit of a different pace towards middle. Ooh, Stiko's trying to pull something off through the monster tunnel. Does receive a tag from the Molotov. That's information that can be relayed over to Heroic. Such a silly round, the round prior. Goomba Stomp not finding anything, and while Stiko brought down as the lurking player towards B. That's the second time this has happened now where GODSENT haven't really shown too much form elsewhere on the map, and while Tess is pushing that advantage further, though it does get traded, again, it's information bled over to Heroic.
Cadian's waiting for them to come in, and Nico's found the first. Cadian follows up right there, leaving just Crystal alive. With only 2 questions to ask. The first is, can he get this done? And the second, as he dies, is, what's a Goomba Stomp?
You know, reference to Mario? The little Goombas? Mario has to jump on top of everything? Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know what they were called. I just called them tiny mushrooms, but fair enough.
Or turtles.
Or turtles, that is true. Simpler times those were. And GODSENT is now hailing back to the simpler times of Nuke, which admittedly were not too simple. Heroic started off very well on Nuke as well, and then GODSENT was able to bring things back on their terrorist side. Unfortunately, I don't know if Overpass will be the same for them. No individuals popping up for them outside of Zen.
That would be a really deflating way to end up in a 3rd map.
Yeah.
After such a grueling first. Heroic, it is a 5-0 start, but it hasn't been the most comfortable as of yet. Yes. You can see that reflected on their economy. Only 2k in the pockets of a few players on Heroic. They've been dealing the damage. Katie in high pressure situation, does get forced back, has to find an exit, and he's actually lingering around, trying to rattle off a couple shots with the AWP. Could have gotten caught in transition, but GODSENT missed the timing.
Still plenty of time on the clock and plenty of players on the map. Tessis peeks out and he is overwhelmed. 4 players peeking into him in the toilets. It's a little bit much even for him. Crystal, please pass the M4 over to someone who has more HP than you. But, there you go. Thank you, Crystal. I appreciate that one. But the full rotation out from T-Spawn might actually catch Heroic off guard of ahead. They've not got anyone inside the B-bomb site itself, though I do believe Borg's playing from heaven. Minimap can be a bit odd even on Overpass. There's some verticality involved. And yeah, so they're rotating back. 50 seconds on the clock. GODSENT will at least have made their way through Monster Tunnel for, let's say, the very, very bare minimum. But Borp's scouting position is really what matters. Cadian gets the first. Borp is still moving forward, trying to get the duel, but he can't decide. And he falls because of it. Again, we find ourselves in a 3v3 as Stown at least equalizes, but the bomb is down. And Cadian, he can't really find them. Stown on B short, his position is known, and he's very low. And as Farlig will be creeping forward, even if Farlig falls, Stown can be traded, and indeed he is. 2v2 with another gun recovered. Both M4s alive. AWP in the hands of Cadian makes it so tricky, and the flashbang's great. Stiko, off the back of Stown, finds the flash. Cadian, though, in a 1v1, still finding it out, getting aggressive. Inside the corner of B short he goes, and he's spotted out, but he can't get the kill. Now faking out the defuse, and it's GODSENT who will get the round, even if Cadian gets away. And that flashbang picked up, that's huge.
Yeah, it's monumental. Because it makes not only the approach from Heroic slowed down significantly because of it, it's just a fully flashed opponent just around the other corner. So it pushes Cadian into that 2 versus 1, and they play it well. He does still hold on to the AWP. That's a silver lining for Heroic. But this is a swinging moment now for either side. Money not really that great for GODSENT. They do sit on a lot higher loss bonus. They need something different here from Heroic. They go for a couple of boosts around the map. One towards connector, one on the B site as well. Get nothing from it as GODSENT are defaulting. Again, Stiko creeping out through the smoke on Monster is really hoping to capitalize, but it's really Heroic that are taking space away. They've cleared out the connector.
Down finding the kill as well, and with connector control established firmly by Heroic, this is heavily counteracting what GODSENT like to play off of. The problem is always going to be going into connector when there's 2 CTs there, even 1. Ooh, good luck with that. It's very difficult to get past. Now, Farlog and company seem to want to bypass connector entirely. 50 seconds on the clock, though, means that time is whittling down and they might have to go for it regardless. Haidian, AWP at the ready, sees the hip of a GODSENT player but can't quite connect, and as he's spotted, he'll be rounding the corner and he's going for the shot, waits too long, and Crystal of all players will be the one to overwhelm. Nico at the ready, but Molotov at its feet, and the full carpet comes in. The T's cannot make their way forward without getting the kill on Borup, and as they do finish them all off, that's Heroic to fall and fluster. And Michael, where you're saying Haidian on the AWP is a silver lining, it's also a bit of a poisoned chalice. As they drink from it, but they buy up all around it. Otherwise, if Haidian dies there, I'm sure they're safe. Now, their economy is devastated. It's down as well as being hunted down. GODSENT knows it's much more important to get the skill rather than actually saving their own weapons.
Yeah, they throw resources at it, and you're absolutely right. The thing is, if Haidian gets that kill over towards long, that changes the dynamic of that A-side approach from GODSENT so significantly. There's a critical duel to be won. Mind versus mind. In-game leader versus in-game leader. And well,
Crystal used to be an Opera, so you can technically say Opera versus Opera.
Yeah, I suppose. There's a good bit of movement as well from Crystal. Not only spotting, got on the jump spot, deploying utility, and just making it so awkward for Haidian throughout.
I thought it was modern.
Yeah. You don't usually see flary plays like that from Crystal.
Yep. And Heroic. This time over. There goes the train, and there goes the MAC-10. Finds itself 2 kills, Zen as well, padding up. Not that he really needs it. He's sitting on 12 for 5, and he'll finish on 13. Third round on the board from GODSENT. Keep all of their rifles alive. Pretty much perfect stuff. And this is another one of the reasons why I really respect Crystal, is that on the teams that Crystal's on, you don't see useless AKs spot. And the reason why I would say him having an AK there would be useless is because you know they're all on USBs. Just get a MAC-10. There's so much economic upside to having one MAC-10, which can potentially get 2 kills in that situation. It's fantastic.
Well, this is the opportunity now for GODSENT to equalize. They win this round, it'll be a save from Heroic in the follow-up. Could be a 5-5, but with Borup getting tagged to such low HP, that crack, the small opening that they have set their sights on, it's a little brighter. See a bit more light shining through. I'm surprised Heroic aren't going a little bit more aggressive as well. They're limited on utility. You expect them to really hinge themselves on that.
Stiko also knows where the second player is now that that smoke's been thrown. He knows they're going to be coming back, and he's got the kills. Down to fall as well. Borup's the second player, but he doesn't have HP. And this is what I was talking about, especially because Borup is ideally the player who wants to get aggressive when he's playing that close, but now he's left alone. At least he's good for the first kill despite his low HP, and he's trying to spray transfer through, but Zen still finishes him off. 4 versus 3, and Heroic will turn around and try to go for a save. Question is, does GODSENT hunt? Because I'd really like to see them go for it. Their money is surprisingly solid for a team that's been, pummeled down as much as it has, but it also does come off the back of quite a few very close rounds against Heroic.
Yeah, you can afford to lose a couple of rifles here for GODSENT, and a lot more importance is placed on that for Heroic. Absolutely. Because I was painting the picture of an easier 5th round for the GODSENT T side. But if these rifles stay around, then it can always prove to be a difficulty. And I like that we've at least seen from the gun rounds from Heroic, they're placing an increased amount of emphasis on connector as well. reading into the game plan for GODSENT. We've seen them go for, I mean, Tess is just unmoving in the connector. We've seen them double up. See them go for a boost as well. And that's what surprised me a little bit about that lower buy from Heroic, because they were missing out on Molotovs and nades and the sort. That's when you actually associate that risk as being a bit more rewarding.
Rook proceeds forward, CZ in hand, but Tessus with the kill. Great smoke thrown out by them just to make sure that the B-bomb site players have a little bit more room to work around. Now, as GODSENT moves forward up from long, they still have to be so incredibly careful, because they know that Heroic have saved the 3 weapons before, so there's still a buy on the other side. I'm surprised they didn't recover the AK, actually.
I like that you highlight the smoke, because that smoke was awesome.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. But Tessix, he's got them off. He's only got one though. Flashbangs are great, but Nico keeps it in their favor. Stown on the CZ, forced to reload. Barley's given enough time to get the quick kill, and Stown around the corner being watched from either side, but Cadian is the savior. Cadian though left on the toilet's position. Had to have Borup step up and get the quick kill. GODSENT. They dropped the all-important round, Michael. The all-important equalizer.
God, that set play there from Heroic was so good to watch. Deep smoke on Monster around the barrels where T-sides will typically default. That is so well designed. And it's something that Heroic pull out because they know how important that round is off of a scrappier buy. Crystal, a lot of nade damage received. Stown will finish him off, and then Borup aggressive through the smoke. Stiko's been doing that so far, so much in this half. Okay, Modern, that's a Hail Mary trade, spamming him through. Did hear the smoke bouncing around, so he's able to echolocate him. But still a significant man advantage here for Heroic.
And these are two players who haven't been having the best of games. Farley will fall as well. Modern at least gets himself the second, but I mean, he's doubled up his kills already by doing that, and we're 10 rounds into it. You can see the problem right now for GODSENT, I think, lies in the flakiness of the individuals. I mean, Zen is 15 and 7. Zen is mustard. I think Zen's actually a fantastic player. I really hope he doesn't go to Ents, because I think it's just a bit of a lateral side grade. Zen's one of the few players who I think deserves a spot in a top 10 team. And I can say that with pure confidence. But Martin and Farley, unfortunately, they haven't really been able to materialize their firepower.
Yeah, you imagine as well, given the roster turmoil for FaZe, if Zen were an in-game leader. God. He would be unbelievable.
He is 28 years old, so, you know, he does have a lot of tenure into the game. He's played a lot with Crystal. If he wants to transition over, I wouldn't be mad about it.
How much of a sponge can you really be?
Yeah. I mean, he was with Crystal and Penta as well. He's with Crystal in this iteration of the roster. There's a lot of places where he's been, you know, really rocking and rolling.
Well, rocking and rolling. That's what Zen's come into at the start of this map. Teammates, not so much. They've got the earmuffs on. They haven't been listening to the same music.
They're the kind of people who warn you about tinnitus at a concert.
You're sitting a little too close to those speakers, boy. It's gonna damage your ears.
Yeah, maybe not headbang so hard.
You see a few different faces from Heroic as well. They've gone for deeper control towards mid and connector. They've put a bit more emphasis on short and long in that particular round, just taking individual fights. And now they play passive. All the ownership on what happens into this round given into GODSENT's control, so they can take bathrooms, they can work through mid without having to expend utility. But Cadian, posted on the angle with the AWP, does strike first. Has a teammate as well that is taking a lot of damage, but gets additional information and additional tags on GODSENT.
Bit of an awkward first Molotov. Clips the corner. It happens sometimes, not a big deal, but that's his angle, so troublesome to deal with. Crystal again lurking on long, not able to find anything. Now the 3v5 comes in as they're proceeding forward. Nades is still on point. Stiko, sure, you're good for one, but Unfortunately, got to be good for all 5 at this point. As he's left alone versus 3, he's proceeding forward and he can't quite get the kill. Tessus will finish him off, and there you have it. GODSENT. Their money is now gone completely.
Yeah. Really smart play from Tessus at the end there as well. As soon as Stiko gets that kill, he just bolts it. Knows that he can just wait and play the numbers advantage.
And Michael, I mean, I don't want to kind of harp on it, but it does seem like the one round where they decided to save 2 players, that did really mess with their economy and momentum to the point where Heroic got a free 5-0 start. After that, GODSENT's been pretty good. We saw them getting up to 5-4, and sure, since then Heroic's been able to really do a bit more, but you start to wonder for yourself, what happens if they get their full gun rounds maybe a little bit earlier than that?
And it's just some of the late round decision making as well, when they're in the 4-on-3. Okay, Stiko, Deeg. Almost a run and gun as well, because he missed the first shot. But if they had hunted in that 4 versus 3, maybe this doesn't happen, because it was those saved over rifles that help
absolutely
get the ball rolling a little further on the CT side. Well, this seems to be a fairly easy cleanup. It is still equal in numbers, but they have these long sight lines that will be very difficult to approach from for GODSENT, especially without utility. They get another Deeg, especially on KD, and this could certainly open things up.
Tessus is ready to go for a flank though, so with that Molotov going out from Cadian, they'll be delayed for long enough, and the nade as well is nicely placed. Cadian is playing them like a fiddle right now, goes in for the second. Zen and Martin default makes it a very unlikely round, and although he misses the third, he will be given more opportunities, but teammates to steal those away. 9-4, Heroic are once again in the exact same position as they were on Nuke, where if they win this round, it should be an 11-4 scoreline, and GODSENT are going to be in a much more tricky situation. Zen's still top-ranking across the server, though. That's very impressive. And Borb, he's really not having a good day. 4-8 right now, admittedly. There's been a lot of places where he's been unlucky with a spray through smoke or so, but even so.
Yeah, he's your monster and barrels player, right? So if it has been approaches towards the B site, they've been late round aggressions from GODSENT. Very hard to predict. Or multi-frag, for that matter. Connector control for GODSENT at the start of this one. Cadian already primed on the angle. There's a timing where he'll have to fall back, and it is coming up soon. Thing is, he's actually lingering a little longer. Flash. Oh, it catches Cadian, so he has to fall, and that's good presence of mind from GODSENT.
Oh, that's a really good flashbang. Wow. Cadian waits for them to make their presence known, but he's not backing off. He knows information over toilets is incredibly important. But look at this. This is huge. This is massive. Stiko has to get a few kills there, and through the smoke he gets one. Expects the second, and that's Borup to fall with this Heroic. Are desperately trying to walk up water. Nico has found the first, and a smoke behind him means he's got place to back off through as well. That's almost 3 kills, but Martin at least trades over there. 3v2, but the nade will equalize. Bomb can't be planted either because of it, and as Cadian moves forward with the AWP, he knows it's now being planted, pulls out the CZ, proceeds forward, finds a quick kill, headshot to the back of Crystal's skull, and at least falling in a 1v2. AK in hand at the ready, can't spray, can't get it done. And you have to be asking yourself, just a little bit more firepower, just a little bit more. And GODSENT, this is a completely different game for them.
The decision-making from Heroic in the mid-round has been pretty much picture perfect. Even when they have these lesser weapons, if they're put in uncomfortable spots, in that 2 versus 2, Cadian reads it so well. Very, very difficult. And you're right, it has been close enough for GODSENT to think, we could have had a few more rounds here. But Heroic have narrowly taken those advantages. Cadian, fancy to peek in through middle with the AWP. Gonna be denied those chances. The flashes force him back. And Stiko, oh my goodness, he's been tagged by spam. He's been naded. He's on 15 HP. He's not even seen anyone. Fortunately for GODSENT though, Zen does accomplish a frag. That's a bit of connector presence made.
Cadian's quite aggressive this time over though. And it seems like Heroic have chosen that the B bomb side is not where they will aggress for information. Instead, it shall be towards Connector, perhaps. Borup. Ready and waiting. Not had the highest of direct impact, but maybe this could be the round for him. 50 seconds and GODSENT setting up for a full monster hit, but with 2 players on the other side having a perfect crossfire, this will be so difficult. Borup gets 1 traded immediately. Stiko with 2 on the entry, though, makes things completely different. Smoke goes forward. Haidian, again, can't really get a good sideline over, but that nade is everything. Finds Martin yet again, and good damage on top of it. Bomb will go down, and as Haidian rounds the corner, he'll be met by a player who he cannot shake hands with. Volley goes over as well. Haidian on the repeat gets another, and it's now 2 versus 2, Michael. Volley has to step up. There's been so many opportunities for him, and he pushes forward. Haidian will fall, and the second will evade him. Then around the corner he comes, and he's put the cherry on top. 17 and 10. He has been a monster, and he will be the man to give them their 5th round.
And you highlighted it before. Zen leading the server. Haidian now ties for the exact same kill count, but to do so when you are behind, to do so when you're losing. A lot of those last couple rounds being competitive hasn't even come from the top fragger. It's the second of that, from Stiko. These double entries, these double kills that he's finding has been creating a lot of room. But now this is where the real issue lies. 10 rounds for Heroic, 5 for GODSENT. You look and highlight the pistol as being the place to start, to get the CT side economy at least in a comfortable enough position. Otherwise, Heroic could run away with this door open. Oh, that's perfect for the boost.
Beautiful stuff. They're just setting up for this pistol round perfectly. And Zen's still spamming, but Stiko's the one to get 2 more kills. That all comes down to Stown, and although he's been given a very nice P250, that's a Membi. South Asian origin skin. Love it, love it. But not necessarily one which can get all that much done over here, Michael.
God, it's such a cute play as well. To go for the boost and then open up the door. Heroic were so unprepared. And unless Down is a miracle worker, this is a GODSENT pistol round 1. There are some chances. They are swarming the bomb, however, so what limited space he's been able to achieve should be factored in. Yeah, Stown spotted, so they can read this appropriately. Need to slow him down. And surely, they're all stacked up on the same angle. It's a triple peek. Don't go into it. Oh, okay. Rounds the corner. Bit of a jump scare. Good round for GODSENT.
Oh, man. I hope we get a replay of that one as well. But, of course, these are slightly more important. The quick kills that they're able to get. Stiko as well follows up with a few of his own. But, yeah. 10 to 6. Heroic will go for the full... Ooh, interesting.
Full save.
They go for the full save. You almost never see that these days. And unfortunately for them, this could be perfect for what GODSENT's brought into this round. They've got 3 MP9s. So I guess maybe GODSENT had a bit of a read over here on this. Maybe this is something that Heroic like to go for in general on Overpass. But first, the MP9s have to get some kills.
And they'll be playing hot potato with the Deagle as well. Nico will look for duels. If he loses, that will swap hands quickly. They'll take their turns at it.
Oh, Martin scouts out of player. Farleg knows that there's a few more coming in from behind, but it's Martin to provide cleanup services. Gets 1, 2, 3. USP pulled out, and I have to say, Nico, I don't think that's how hot potato is supposed to work. You're not supposed to be the one left alone in the end, so maybe we didn't quite get the right game. Long-range shot from the MP9 will at least recover them the kill.
Yeah, I think if you're going to go for a faster collapse like that, just investing in a couple P250s for the same amount of money is...
Yeah.
The Deagle probably makes a little bit more sense, but hey, who am I to question? Heroic. They go for that save in the second round. Something we saw definitely at the start of the economy changes, definitely out of favor as of late.
I think it's also that Heroic saw what happened in the previous game and they don't want to let GODSENT have a second half that starts off too soon, you know? Just bring the gun round out ASAP. Tessus, unfortunately, has been tagged up the wrong side. And Zen with the flashbang, very nicely placed, allows him to go forward with the MP9 and completely destroy connector presence. That's so lovely.
Yeah, they don't know whether he's still staying in the connector, whether he's made his exit because of the smoke. The door being closed, some sound cues being given up. That could also still be a feint. You can see Heroic aren't really investigating that direction. They just have to be very conscious that that is a possibility. Do you regroup up outside of B? They have some utility to spare. A couple of smokes. They can line up for an execute or a quicker play. Tessus throwing one over towards Heaven. And that's thrown just to keep GODSENT guessing.
Yep.
Still no information, nobody close enough to spot here for GODSENT, and now with 30 seconds left, now the hit comes.
And now they've had the information, them proceeding forwards and playing from the angle. Great shot from him to take down Haidian, and Astiko's found one as well. This is going to be huge from Crystal. MP9, perfect place for it too. The mobility can be so important, but Crystal misses his shots, and Zen is left to finish things off. Even so, that's job well done. GODSENT up to 8, set up for 9. Michael, I have to say, I am still very worried for the side of GODSENT, because traditionally when you have one player popping off, it's better to have him on the T side. But with Stiko now stepping up to the playing field, one more player is all it'll take.
Yeah.
Heroic's not having the best of times even now.
And I will say, it's something that's hard to measure when we're just kind of witnessing the game as a spectator. But as far as we can tell, the communication from both of these teams has been pretty much flawless. Every time there's a player that's been tagged up, a nade quickly follows it up. We saw that from Heroic on their CT side. GODSENT show us that as well.
And whenever that's happening, you know that CT side is ready to start popping off. And on overpass, a dangerous CT side. That is a scary beast. And, well, it seems like Heroic, their timings might have just been read, actually. Very early smokes get thrown out. And as they'll be flashing themselves forward, Barlik peeks out and sees they've gone through it. Gets himself one, refaces out for the second, and with Modern providing backup, he's good to back off. Modern gets another, and that's the easiest cleanup of their lives right there and then. Heroic will have a buy in the next one, yes, but GODSENT with all 5 players alive and now starting to accumulate money as well.
Yeah, we should see the AWP come out for Haidian. Yeah, a little bit dicey on the spray. It's a little closer than it has to be.
It's okay. He's an opera. We don't fault him for that.
Yeah, that is true. If there's anybody you give leeway to, it is certainly him. We'll see if they can get things done. Lurk smoke out at the start of the round here from Heroic. Stiko playing around the other side of it. And they may read into this. Oh, taking Sanctuary in the smoke. He's close. Do Heroic even realize they're bypassing? They're running right past him. Stiko actually performing a very quick flank as a result. And they don't clear him. Bomb drop. Gone and exposed. Haidian, fortunately for enough for them, was watching the flank, so he's dealt with. That could have really cascaded out of control. A 3-on-3, now hot on their heels, and Haidian's given up the angle. Zen could flank as well.
Zen came in from B short, so they don't know he's here, and they think their flank is safe because of Haidian's positioning. They can't possibly expect this. Zen, this is the perfect spot to be at the perfect time as well. Haidian will get another yes, but that just means Zen has a little bit more to do, and he's able to move past. He gets himself two, and he knows Haidian's position as well. Haidian in a 1-on-2, smoked off to boot, and Modern has a smoke as well as bomb control. So getting onto this side is going to be nearly impossible. They're not going to be facing off against this AWP, at least not alone. They're positioning themselves perfectly together. Second smoke as well goes through. And Haidian has to swing all the way out from short to catch off these players. And even then, you have to get 2 of them. So he's proceeding forward, 20 seconds on the clock. It's ticking away, and they're checking for it. Modern comes in, makes it happen, and one solitary moment where Zen's able to creep past in through short. That's what leads to this 2K. Oh my goodness, that's just perfection. Stiko's chaos obviously has to be credited as well.
Yeah, it's just the added layer of chaos added on top. The fact that Cadian's holding the flank with an AWP is a little bit strange in itself, because you can just work the site slowly, but because of the pace that Heroic were going at, that's the best spot for him, really. I'm just surprised he gave up the angle, because he had to be worried about a flank from Connector, any sort of push through mid that GODSENT may have thrown. Really well done. And it's that equalizer. It's double digits for GODSENT, really applying the pressure here for Heroic, yet to register around on this T side.
Then peeks out, gets the first, keeps it spraying, almost a second, but not quite. Crystal has to come in and finish him off, but Crystal doesn't just want sloppy seconds, he wants even more. Unfortunately, Borf served it up to him. 2v2 with Heroic being very low. How many times have we seen GODSENT lose these exact same rounds on their own side, but no nade kill? This time over. Oh, changed my mind right there. Why don't you, Farley? Secondary one will follow through and finish him off. Nico now left in a 1 versus 2. Hoping that he can pull out a miracle. Waiting for them to come in. His HP is not fantastic, but he's playing a great angle around it. And as they white peek forward, Modern will get the kill and finish things out there. And then nicely done from GODSENT to recover a bit of a tricky situation.
The utility usage.
Both these teams, isn't it?
Yeah, it really has been a marvel. How many nade kills have we seen to finish off low HP opponents? Now we get the double nade as well.
It's also somehow always in a 2v2.
Yeah. And it's a testament as well to how both of these teams have been playing. They haven't been applying equal pressure across the map, so these rotates, these clutch plays, they'll have utility to spare. Oh my goodness. I was gonna say, I thought Stown may have found a timing that GODSENT may not predict. He's playing as a lurker in this round, just getting some short control instead. The nades seem to indicate that GODSENT have that in the back of their minds. Farlig posted on the angle. They're ready to round this corner here for Heroic.
Oh, Farlig can't quite get the
I love
shot,
this.
But this is interesting. They even try and get the boost over. Modern, with the help of the smoke, at least has a bit more leeway to back off as well. And with this, they go